Thanks, Jay. I've known Jay a long time, and always found is if you really want to know about a company, read Jay's reports. They flow, they don't bore you to death, and they get right to the point. So, thanks, Jay, for having us. So, Gatling is a pretty simple story. I mean, basically, it's a single project. We have currently 3 high-grade gold deposits strung out along the Kirkland-Larder Break. And we start with a historical resource of just under 1 million ounces at just under 6 grams per ton. This year was the first year basically for Gatling. It was a spin-out of the company that Jay had just mentioned. And we had just come off of a gold discovery in Quebec that turned out to be about 1.2 million ounces. We're in the Kirkland-Larder Break. As I said, it's very well established, and we're basically within 2 kilometers of the past producing Curratison mine, which was a 10.5 million ounce producer at about 12 grams per ton up until the 1990s. I should say that we're well funded. We've got about 4 million cash right now, and we've got about 45 million shares outstanding. So location-wise, basically, you're looking at the Abitibi-Greenstone Belt. We're just on the Ontario side, on the southern part of the belt. So if you go a little bit further to the west, you'll end up in Kirkland Lake, Ontario, and like just to the east of us is Virginia Town, and then the Quebec border. So what we're working is 2 trends, but mainly that blue trend to the south. So that's the actual Kirkland-Larder Break. You can see we've got about 15 or so kilometers of strike on that break. And what we're focused on now is mainly about a 5-kilometer strike length that contains the 3 gold deposits. West to east, it'd be Fernland, Chemainus, and the Bear deposit. The upper Beaver trend to the north is effectively a secondary lineation that contains a number of showings, and we're going to explore our side of it. In fact, we've begun to do that. And then what you'll notice from this slide is that our biggest and only real neighbor is Agnico Eagle, and that project that you see is their largest exploration project currently. If you go a little bit further beyond to the west, then you end up in Kirkland Lake Gold territory. So when we consolidated this land package, we inherited quite a large database, and the databases were put together by Goldfields at first, and then our most recent deal was with Teck. So there's a very large geochemical and geophysical database that and drill database that came with the project. We inherited all of it, and it was done in a, as you'd expect, in a really good quality fashion. So we have an excellent quality database that we work with. I know Goldfields put about $6 million worth of work into the project before us, and Teck put about $2 million worth of work. So putting that together, we've really consolidated that land base. Looking at a longitudinal section looking north, so you're seeing depth and length here. The red deposits are the ones we're currently drilling kind of in between the 2 deposits now. Basically, what we're trying to say here is the Fernland, Chemainus, and Bear were not singular deposits. They just happened to be worked at different times by different owners. But really, it's a single deposit over 5 kilometers, but you have, better parts of it or shoots within. And our goal is taking those singular deposits, making them look a little more like one by, understanding what controls the mineralization, and then drilling in the unknown parts, taking advantage of that knowledge, and we're having really good success doing that. A little closer in, around that where you see number 19 and 17, those are the areas that we're drilling now. So that's down around 800 meters in depth. So we're, to start with, we're drilling deep holes. We're drilling 1,200 meter holes. But we're going to work wedges coming up from that, so we'll take advantage of that depth. But basically what we had to do was kind of work from the known to the unknown. And once we hit in between in the unknown areas, then, and we understand, the plunging nature of these chutes, we'll work up and down. But I think the big point is that every hole that hits in those open areas is going to add a lot of ounces, especially considering, we're starting with a pretty good resource base to begin with. Moving in again a little closer, this is just giving you a little more detail of what we're hitting in the open areas. Our last couple of drill holes were 5 meters of 11 grams per ton, and we've had up to 40 meter wide intersections of sort of 1.5 to 2 grams per ton. So you're getting both big broad areas of well mineralized material, plus you get those more concentrated high-grade sections. Here's a level plan of that 800 meter level. So that's almost 2.5 kilometers of basically continuous information down at that 800 meter level. Multiple zones parallel, so it makes for a very efficient mining scenario. Your ground conditions are excellent. We're getting 100% core recoveries. And in the cross-sectional view, basically it looks like the plan view, but every time you get a kind of an S fold or a wobble in the structure, you get inflated widths and grade, and you just pretty much have to figure out where are those better widths and grades going in terms of direction, and that's our focus. Here's just a table of some recent results. This one is interesting in that it shows you the drill coverage. So that's over a 5 kilometer length and about a 1 kilometer depth. And basically what it's saying is there's a lot of room, to fill in here. So next year our drill program is going to crack 100,000 meters. This was our first year. Really, we started about mid-year, and we'll probably break about 35,000 meters this year. We just had our third rig come to site. The Chemanis is actually the deposit in the middle, and that has development. It's got a shaft down to 1,000 feet, numerous levels coming off of it. No real mining, but there was test stoping done in the 1990s. It's accessible, but it would take some work to rehabilitate. In this case, we have drilling that's 600-700 meters below the development, so there's a lot of potential in that area as well. Moving on to the north part, to that secondary trend, this is just exploration, pure exploration. If we find something up there, it'll be brand new. But what we're looking for is more of a broad, large surface type discovery where you've got mineralized porphyries, intrusives in contact with Temiskaming sediments or conglomerates, and that's kind of a classic Timmins model. Our first holes, we're getting the proper alteration, the proper mineralization, so you got silicification and carbonate and all the right ingredients, so we should be able to get some results out to market kind of end of year or early next year. And what Teck left us with was big, broad anomalies in terms of resistivity and chargeability. So we're drilling those now, so it should be interesting in that second phase. So basically 35,000 meters this year, 100 plus next year, turning 3 deposits into one large one, and that's the Gatling story. It's relatively simple. I managed to tell it in 10 minutes. There you go. Thanks.